Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Podcast, coming to you with Friday NBA picks, 8 games to choose from. Not my favorite Thursday night of all time. Let's get right into it and talk about it. 3 picks. That's why this video is coming out a bit late for you guys. I didn't want to force picks, and I was looking at the slate last night, and I was just drawing a blank, man, and I couldn't find what I wanted. I didn't have props for certain guys that I felt better about that I now have, so I'm happy to get this out to you a little bit late, but hopefully more accurate than last night. And I could only get you 3 picks last night on a smaller slate. Didn't have the time then either. I'm not gonna say I rushed it. It's just a lot of things changed on Thursday that affected the picks that I wanted to make, and I had to get the video out to you early. I'm making excuses. Let's move on. The record here for the day was 1-2, went 1-1 in the props. I'm staying away from sides and totals for a bit. We're now 10-13 on the season, minus 3.5 units on sides and totals. On the season as a whole, because the player props are so fucking awesome, we are 31-20, plus 10.6 units. So on the season, 45-33, plus 7.1 U. And we've been doing this solo show here for about a month and a half, keeping track of these things. Let's keep it going here. I'm just going to get right into my first pick for Friday. I got 4 of them for you, all Playa props, including a same-game parlay, which we kick it off with here. Very crowded on this screen if you're watching on YouTube, as you can see. Raptors same-game parlay for plus 221 on FanDuel. Siakam, Pascal, 25-plus points and 6-plus boards for him. Barnes, Scotty, 8+, I don't know why I'm doing that, 8+ boards for Scotty as well in the same game parlay. Simply put, they're playing Atlanta, and this is going to be a good matchup for anybody who's a power forward, and everybody on Toronto is a power forward. These happen to be the 2 best guys on their team and the most used and the most likely to participate in the rebounding against this Atlanta team, where, I mean, Pirtle will be out there at times with Capella, but those minutes for Capella have been so random. I think you're going to see a lot of transition buckets from both of these teams. The Raptors do a much better job of getting back in transition, so that's why everything should be there for Scotty and for Pascal. I like the points for Pascal, because that's just what he's been doing, man. I don't know how else to put it. Simply put, he's continuing to score against these types of teams as well. In his last 4 versus Atlanta, 27.5 a game and 10+ boards, only failing to get 10 boards in 2 of those of the last 4, so half of the time. 29% usage for him and a 22% usage for Scotty, who's also got a very nice assist rate against this team, but the rebounds are always there for Scotty as well against this team, and he's out running the break consistently. The last time they played on Wednesday, he had 10 boards in that one. He had 15 rebound chances in that one, and he's averaged about 16 rebound chances versus this Hawks team dating back to last season. Pascal, same concept, ton of rebound chances for him. So I do like the 6. It's actually very conservative for him, but I'm also just going in on the points. 25.5 is his prop. If you don't take the 25 and you go 25.5, it does juice you up a decent amount. But I'm just going to stick with what I know here and make it my, one of my favorite bets of the day, because I get 2-1 on my money with just what I have here. The 6 boards is almost like kind of mean to Pascal to put him that low. So if you want to go up a little bit for him as well, but as you know, on FanDuel, you have to go up by even increments as you take alt stuff on the rebounds and the assists. For the points, it goes up in increments of 5 as you take the alt lines and props for those guys there. So for the amount that these guys are doing that against a team like Atlanta, who is basically the worst, take your pick between them and the Hornets and the Wizards. Who's going to give up the most points and rebounds and everything to opposing power forwards? And like I said, both these guys, like, look, Scotty's the point guard, if you will. Basketball Reference had him listed as the shooting guard. Like, whatever you want to do with that, it's positionless basketball is definitely thriving in Toronto and has been for a bit. So we'll take both these guys to be really important around the boards, and also for Pascal to get his points. Moving on to a bet I also love. I'm going to do a little ladder here with Brandon Ingram. He's at 23.5 points. It's probably getting juiced down pretty heavy to that over there. Before long, you might see it at 24.5 points. I'd still take that, because if Zion doesn't play, I'm going to be laddering this for sure. Now, I think you can still get some pretty good juice before Zion's officially announced in or out. If he is announced in, which it seems like he's probably going to play, then maybe this gets a little bit better after he's announced in. So you can kind of play that by ear with him. But before the game starts, I would get Brandon Ingram to score 25 points. And if Zion is not in, I would get him to score 30 points. Charlotte is one of those teams I just talked about briefly, who you can just score on from that position on the floor so mightily. They also don't have PJ Washington in for this game. They won't have Mark Williams once again. Nick Richards is going to be handling the bulk of everything down low. We'll probably see more JT Thor. All of this means is there's not going to be versatile defenders down low. Brandon Ingram is going to be able to score from multiple positions on the floor, including the mid-range, where Charlotte is a bottom 5 team at defending the mid-range, which we know is his bread and butter, and where he'll be able to shoot over Miles Bridges, Gordon Hayward. I don't know who you want to put on him, but there's not going to be a good matchup against Brandon Ingram in this one. Could probably use Caleb Martin's brother in this one, Cody Martin, and he won't even be around as a really athletic sort of shooting guard, small forward that could guard a guy like Brandon Ingram decently well, but BI would still shoot over him. On the road, they rely on him a lot, and in part because it's a little bit harder to get to the rim on the road. The teams generally defend the paint a bit better when they're in their home building than on the road, and you rely on mid-range shots a bit more, and that's where Brandon Ingram scores from. That's where his usage rate goes up, and his points to 25.5 a game on the road this season, about 23 at home. Some of that splits, some of the reasoning behind those splits has to do with Zion playing more frequently when he's at home. And so Brandon Ingram, when he's on the road, is relied upon a bit more. But if Zion's out, and here's the thing, if Zion's out, yes, Brandon Ingram, all of the stuff goes up. I mean, I can tell you all the points go up, the usage rate goes up. In his last few games without Zion Williamson, we've seen him go up to about a 34% usage rate in the last, 35%. And that's in 34 minutes per game. I don't know if he'll be needed, how long he'll be needed. I think this is a bad matchup for Charlotte, and that New Orleans should win this game on the road as 8-point favorites. They should cover. I'm not worried about that in this one. If you want to take them as a money line with Brandon Ingram, 25 plus points, that gets you plus 150. I think that's a really good bet. The minus 285 money line for the Pelicans is not bad. And so if you combine that with the 25 for BI, you get really good stuff as well. But yeah, everything here is a good situation for BI against Charlotte. As I said, awful against small forwards, power forwards. You put a forward in them in the position, and Charlotte has trouble defending it. So best bet number 3. Alperen Sengun. I love Sengun, man. I mean, you don't have to be like a stat nerd in the NBA to appreciate what this dude is doing, although the stat nerds have been jock riding Sengun since he came in the league for a good reason. His potential assists, his ability to get guys open, his ability to drive this year is incredible. All that said, in a matchup against Memphis, I'm going under for his assists. I had to talk about how much I loved him before I told you I'm fading him. I kind of scaled this back. I started going, let me take under PRA for him. And then I was like, oh, actually, the points could be there for him. He could sort of go off if his mid-range is working and he's guarded by Bismack Biyombo, who can't afford to go all the way out to the mid-range to guard him. Then, yeah, there's going to be some opportunity for Sengun to score some points. The rebounds, I was like, well, let me get him the rebounds there. Bismack's way bigger than him. He can keep him off the glass. He had 15.5 rebound chances in the last 2 that he's averaging. He had 17 in the last game. Ended with 10 boards, and probably got more, but Jabari Smith got in there. For those of you who were watching how much I complained about Jabari Smith, he had 12 rebound chances in that game and got 10 of them. That's unheard of. You don't get an 83% rebound percentage on your rebound chances. So that's just to close the loop on how much I was bitching about Jabari Smith last video. But anyway, for Sengun, the rebounds could still be there for him as well, because Memphis is going to throw up a ton of bricks, especially if Desmond Bane isn't playing. They're at home, where they're actually a little bit worse on offense. I mean, they're just playing more slowly at home and choppier and better defense are the Grizzlies. But that's also why I don't like this bet for him. The 6.5 potential assists last game, on average in the last 2 versus Memphis, are because this matchup is just full of fouls. It's ugly. It's a brawl it out nasty affair. You've got Dylan Brooks. You've got Alperen Sengun, 2 of the guys that foul the most at their position and in the entire league. And then you've got Memphis, who's going to give up nothing easy, who's going to play grind city ball and also fouls a ton, because they also go for blocks. Guys like Jaren Jackson Jr. consistently and Bismack as well, both like foul a lot, just plainly put. So the foul trouble for Sengun is a reason that he might not get the assists. The foul trouble in general is a reason that the assists are not as available, because all these you can't get an assist when a guy fouls unless you hit the and one. And these guys are like WWF old style fouling. This isn't like slap him on the wrist and hope he misses it. This is like grab his arms fouls, because it's nasty basketball right now between these two teams. And Memphis limits centers to everything that they want to do. And there's a reason for that. And nerding out for you on it with this for a second, the reason they're top 4 in limiting points and rebounds and assists to the opposing center is because they have a very clear strategy, which is Bismack Biyombo hangs out around the free throw line, and when he's allowed to, a little bit lower. Now, if he goes too low, he gets a defensive violation, a 3-second violation on him for illegal defense. But if he at least stays around the foul line and close enough to his man, then he's not going to get that. And but the point is like once he's out there, now you've got, if Şengün wants to stand on the 3-point line, you've either got guards that are helping out on him to double, which forces the ball out of his hands, or once he gets down low, now you've got Jaren Jackson Jr. coming over to double because he's not really scared of anybody else necessarily on that team, which is why Jabari Smith scores against them. But either way, this is just a bad matchup for Şengün and a good situation to fade specifically his assists. And if you want to fade other stuff on top of the assists, I get it, but the 4.5 get pretty good juice for going under as opposed to the minus 130 it is to go over 4.5 because suckers are taking that bet. Finishing it off with Cade. Least favorite bet, to be totally honest with you. I had to get 4 in here. I prefer to get 5. I always prefer to get 5. Going 2 and 2 does not help me, and I get that. So you always want to have the extra hook there because I'd rather lose a unit and have the opportunity to win 1.5 units or 1.2 units than just go completely cold and go 2 and 2 and lose 0.1. I just don't like. I want the opportunity to win a few more. All of that said, I'm going against it because I had to get this video out, and there's still not props available in that Boston game that I really wanted to get out, etc. So that's my final excuse of the day, I promise. Cade Cunningham over 32.5 points and rebounds and assists. Philly's just worse at guarding the point guard. I had to find a way to bet the point guard for the Pistons because the Philly's going to win this game. They're 16.5 point favorites. They guard every other position on the floor very well. You can get some small forward stuff in there, or power forward rather, stuff in there, but I don't like anybody to score on Joel without a true center. There's no Jalen Duren. Beef Stew is not a true center. Marvin Bagley is like out once again. James Wiseman, I guess, is going to play a little bit. Like I don't want any of that. It's going to be the same shit we talked about last time. The rebounds are available for the guards and a small forward like Ausar Thompson. I swore off of him, though. I'm still going to my Ausar Thompson recovery meetings because I couldn't stop betting on him for a while, and I need to stay away continuously. Not ready to step back out into the world of Ausar Thompson bets, but the guard on the Pistons outside of the small forward is the other place you want to attack Philly. They're worse at guarding the point guards. The only place that they're in the bottom half of the league, giving up points per game to that position, and small forwards, like I said. Cade's usage rate completely spikes as a result of all this. It goes up to 34% as opposed to the 30% that it is on the season as a whole. And that's been the case over the last 5 games. 34% usage over 5 games versus this Philly team because a couple of reasons. One, he's obviously always got the ball in his hands. 2, he's the best option to score because of where he scores from. The mid-range, once again, similar to BI, is where he needs to score from because you're not going all the way down low to battle Embiid at the rim, who has the 3rd best opponent field goal percentage inside of 5 feet of anybody in the league. Plainly put, you don't score once you get to the rim against Embiid, and he does it without fouling consistently. It's wild, actually, to watch how nimble that massive dude is trying to block other guys off of his. So, yeah, Cade needs to hit that mid-range to keep things going for him. Once he hits the mid-range, he can get inside a little bit more, and now he's in a good place to be able to either kick out or find a guy in the dunker spot to at least draw Embiid towards him, right? But he needs to get past his guy, and in order to do that, he does want to start hitting that mid-range, and then he's going to have a lot of matchups that he can take advantage of against Philly because he is too quick for Tobias Harris. He's too big for other guys, even like D'Anthony Melton at times. So the potential assists are going to be there for him, up to 12 a game versus this team. It sucks because most guys with 12 potential assists would often see like it's a lock for 7 assists. Pistons not a very good offensive team, so just because he's passing his teammates the ball in good spots doesn't mean they're hitting it. But having bogey backs helps a lot. Bogdanovich is also a pretty decent bet for points in this one. Small forward on this team, and really shooting guard, but small forward is really where he plays. And Ausar Thompson's more of like a power forward. Beef Stew, I don't know what he is, but everything sort of chalks up to Cade having the ability to score a lot of points, get a lot of assists, and the rebounds. The long rebounds are going to be there. I love the 4.5. If you want to just take that, I recommend it. I'm fine with over 4.5 assists for him. It's another really good bet. I think he's going to be involved in this game and he's going to give a shit. Like I don't see Nate on the other show I do was worried about Cade not being in there at the end because they're getting blown out. And I'm not worried about that. I get that they might get blown out, but I think he's going to be playing into the 4th quarter. And I do think that he's going to be the one fighting and caring. He's got the biggest ego. He's the best player on this team he's not used to getting blown out like that, man. He's always been one of the best players on the floor and never getting dismantled like the way that the Pistons do by Joel and company. He might not have a choice, but I think he's going to try his best to get his. So let's close it out here with a quick summary of how we are betting this stuff on Friday. A Raptors same game parlay, Siakam 25 plus. Oh, I should have added, I like the 6 boards for him in there as well to get it to 221, and Barnes 8 plus boards. Brandon Ingram over 23.5 points. If Zion's not playing, ladder that shit up. Don't worry about it. If you want to put 0.1 units on like 35, coming off a 40-point banger against a team that is very similar to the Hornets and the Wizards, so there's probably more points to come for him. Alperen Şengün, under 4.5 assists. Love baby Jokic, but this is not a good game for him to dime up. And then Cade Cunningham, over 32.5 points, rebounds, and assists, or just 4.5 rebounds. And that is all the time that I have for you guys in this one. Appreciate you all following along. Let me make some bigger. All those new subscribers, everybody, I'm supposed to remind you, I do a bad job of it, but please do subscribe to that page. It's very helpful. I know I need to make sure to mention it so that I can get some people to get on it. Either way, continue to follow along. Jump in the comments, man. I really appreciate everybody letting me know what's up. Tell me if you don't like the bets. I don't give a shit. I'm here to talk about it with you guys. But until I do see you next, I'm going to be coming back. I'm getting a video out to you tonight. I promise. I just made that promise, so I have to do it. I'm holding myself to it. Saturday games, you will get NBA bets from me. And until I see you then, happy betting.